Very excited today. We've got an awesome crew. Let's get started. Thanks everyone. If you're just joining, let us know where you're calling in from. It's super fun to know, like, we've just got an amazing community here and representation across the globe. So we're so excited that you're here with us today. I'll kick us off. My name is Megan Watson. I'm on the AI product marketing team here at Zendesk, and I'm going to be your host. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. This is our fourth of the Post Relate Deep Dive series. And today we're going to be focusing on Zendesk for Contact Center. Before we get started, we always want to share with you some exciting upcoming events that you want to bookmark and register for. So tomorrow, the Zendesk team will host the third episode of the series entitled 5 Steps to Providing Email Support. So this will be step 3, build the agent experience. This session will explore strategies for enhancing the agent experience through effective ticket routing. You're going to learn about ticket handling workflows, how to utilize views for prioritizing tickets, the benefits of macros for streamlining responses. So join the team for insights on how that will empower your team and improve efficiency. So, and as always, we have a live Q&A session, so you don't want to miss out. We'll share the registration link in the chat. So we hope to see you there. One other one I want to let you know about. So again, we are doing we're still in our deep dive series for Relate. We will be wrapping up that series at the end of the month on June 30th, focusing on all the amazing things we launched and talked about at Relate around our platform. So we will also share the registration page as well in the chat. Check it out. Oh, look at me, I'm registering. So maybe that's like a sign that you all should register. Here, let me escape because I don't like it when I'm in that presentation mode. Thanks, folks. Whoa, I can't. All right, well, we'll just keep rolling in this. Okay, cool. But why are we here? We are here for a deep dive on Contact Center. And I am so excited for the panel that we have with us today. We've got amazing folks here to lead us on this topic. Each of these individuals work very closely with this area of the product and are here to walk us through this information. Fun fact, if you don't know this already, we've got the local measure team here, and very excited to have Jonathan and Nuri and Lovekesh. Jonathan was the former CEO of Local Measure and is now our VP GM of Contact Center. So we're thrilled to have him here and the team here to kind of walk us through all the amazing things and even in the product. Before we get started, it is helpful to know that we do have a Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Please use the Q&A for asking all of your product questions. The chat is for letting us know where you're calling in from, reacting to all the amazing things you're seeing on screen. Keep it fun in the chat, but the QA will be where our product experts will be sitting and answering all your questions. Be patient with them. They're going to do their best to get to your question. Anything that we don't get to, we will follow up on after the event. Also worth noting in housekeeping, we are recording this event, so we will be sending you the recording, the deck, and the Q&A. So I think we've got all the housekeeping stuff. Hopefully I've got everybody excited to be here. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Carlos.
Thanks so much, Megan. Hello, everybody. Great to see all of you and folks for watching later on in the recording. My name is Carlos. We are excited here today to share with you how Zendesk for Contact Center can transform service, uncovering new opportunities, and really driving value for all Zendesk users. Now, diving in, I want to take a second to talk about, why voice, why now? The way we work, it's changing faster than ever. Employees and customers are navigating hybrid and remote work while AI reshapes everything, from your daily workflows to the tools that your teams are using, that managers are using. And at the same time, every department, we're all under pressure. We try to do more with less, making efficiency really essential to your day-to-day operations. And we get it. A lot of folks here on the call today are Zendesk users. Many of you are admins, and you're feeling some of these pressures and understand how this landscape is developing. And so in the last 10 years, there's been a massive acceleration of channels being introduced with text message. from Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and the innovation is continuing with AI. It's just huge and massive disruption across the board. And customer service departments, we're struggling a bit, with omni-channel, ensuring the customer experience is seamless and efficient across different systems. It can be tough. And despite all the technological advancements, phone remains a foundational element of customer service. And we're an exciting convergence, we think, of all of these multiple channels evolving, with our customers' expectations and AI. So, here's why I think, voice is, it's still vital. As digital channels started to be introduced, there's discussions that phone would be eliminated. I remember just a few years ago, there was folks thinking everything's moving to messaging, and there was even a story where there was this airline, Frontier Airlines, that tried eliminating this voice support from their customer service. At the end, it was around like 2022. And this created a bunch of buzz, and folks thinking, oh, some folks saying it's innovative and new and modern, and other folks kind of worrying about it. However, what we saw was in around mid 2024, about 2 years later, they announced they were reintroducing phone support. Customers really got a little bit frustrated with that issue. We sometimes, especially in airlines and in so many industries, where you want to get answers quickly, but your challenges are complex. It's not just a simple process. You need to have that human to human connection and that human agent experience. So phone is absolutely still relevant. It's compelling to customers across the board, and especially many particular industries. So, again, when there's complex issues on the table, folks are dealing with sensitive information, urgency, speaking with an agent is absolutely still preferred out there by the customer base. And voice is also critical, we see, for businesses to build that loyalty and that trust. Those calls and relationships with one-to-one with agents, when agents show that empathy and you hear and you have that live engagement, can really drive home a lot of key aspects that businesses are striving and sometimes challenged to enable with their customers. 70% of customers say they feel more confident when complex issues are resolved over the phone. Phone allows for that nuanced communication, tone of voice, pauses, inflections. This stuff is just fully missed out in written communication. And again, how agents understand the customer's challenges. Oftentimes we understand, agent work is hard, as a foundation. And it's so often easier to just get to the point and understand it better via voice. Ultimately, when customers feel heard, understood, and treated with respect, they're more likely to trust the brand, build a positive relationship with the company, and ultimately, build that human-centered connection that drives brand loyalty. So pivoting forward to understanding voice, kind of wanted to give a quick recap on how we're connecting to what you have probably heard a little bit about of our resolution platform. At Relate, we introduced the #1 AI service solution here, built to drive resolutions for both customers as well as employees. We introduced a lot of great product announcements, many focused on simplicity, ease of use, like AI Agent Builder, Action Builder, App Builders, generative search. And our platform isn't just complete, it's designed from the ground up. It's flexible, it's intuitive. Now, many companies already use Zendesk to run their contact centers using our voice solution that's included with Suite. It's powerful, it's scalable, includes AI from end to end. But we certainly acknowledge complex service environments do need more. There's some decent options out there, but a lot of that's super clunky. None of them are Zendesk. It's easy to set up, use, and maintain, and seamlessly integrate with AI embedded across the entire call journey. So to help us here introduce to Zendesk Contact Center, I'm thrilled to hand off over to Jonathan. Welcome to the family, Jonathan and team. Take it away.
Thanks, Carlos. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. I, as you can hear from my accent, am Australian. So I'm joined by two colleagues, Lovekesh and Nuri. Nuri has promised to translate for me from Detroit, Michigan. And so today we're going to split the kind of community update into, I'm going to talk about the actual product, and we're going to go into some technical detail. And then Nuri, the demo wizard, is actually going to do a live demo and take you through both the Zendesk for Contact Center platform. And we're actually also going to go into the guts of the contact center and show you the AWS platform as well. We are happy to take real live questions and Q&As and chats. And thank you so many people for joining. So I'll take a little bit of a step back. So Zendesk for Contact Center is, I think, about 3 weeks old. I'm 3 weeks into my Zendesk journey. I am here in the San Francisco office. And I was telling the other folks just before everyone joined, a quick secret is the coffee in this office really sucks. So I am on low caffeine, and I'm going to try my best to keep the energy up, but please don't judge me for the fact that the coffee here is terrible. The product that is now known as Zendesk for Contact Center was Local Measure a few weeks ago. And so essentially we were one of the largest Amazon Connect partners that built a fully integrated, resilient, scalable contact center solution in partnership with AWS. That product is now Zendesk for Contact Center and is being built into the very bones and the fabric of Zendesk. And as Carlos said, what that gives us is a really scalable voice solution. I agree with everything that Carlos said about voice being really important. In fact, we probably see the volume of voice going up as service improves. Now, that doesn't mean there's always going to be a human at the other end of the call, at the other end of the phone line. That could be an agentic worker. But voice still remains one of the most natural user experiences and one of the most natural user interfaces. And we think, particularly for more complex problems, people will be using voice assistants, they'll be in the car. It may not be over a toll-free or a PSTN line. It may be on an in-app call, but we think the voice channel is here to stay. And that's why we at Zendesk are so excited to be able to offer kind of a scalable, AI-infused, personalized service for contact center. So what I'm going to talk to you today really is around the touch points that are enabled with AI, how AWS and Amazon Connect sort of underpins this service. And I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek on how we're thinking about kind of unifying the contact center into a single beautiful pane of glass, which is the Zendesk workspace. And to Carlos said, really to remove the frustration of customers having to use 4 or 5 different systems. Customers tell us they want everything within Zendesk. They want the ease of setup, they want the ease of operation, they want to be able to scale, and they don't want to have to connect numerous systems together. So what we have done at Zendesk is partnered with Amazon Connect, who have scalable, resilient, redundant telephony. They provide the telephone numbers, PSTN and toll-free. We'll talk a little bit about that later. And they also have some really advanced routing options, IVR options, and AI options to do self-serve. So we're taking the best of the Connect application, the best of the Zendesk application, and marrying them together in Zendesk for Contact Center, ultimately to give you a really seamless experience across all of the touch points. So we can start on email in a case, we can escalate to voice, we can move to a proactive outbound engagement, and then we can close the loop again on voice. And ultimately that's what great experience is, the context following across all of the channels and being stitched together within Zendesk so that the agent, whether it's human or digital, has all of the data in one spot. At Local Measure, we used to say, like, you can either buy a kind of a CCaaS and take it to where your data lives, or you can have a CCaaS kind of built within the foundation of your very data. And I think the cool thing for Zendesk customers is they have years of data, they have customer records, they have cases, and bringing the CCaaS into the place where kind of all of that data lives will allow us to unlock some really powerful automation use cases. Amazon Connect operates in 158 inbound countries. They have kind of resilient and scalable telco. And the really cool thing for me is I've kind of watched in different markets what that resilience means and what that ability to fail over means. Typically in the contact center world or an on-prem world, you have a single carrier, it's a single point of failure. If something goes wrong with your telco, the whole contact center can go out. The really nice part about the resilience of AWS is they've got multiple availability zones, they've got multiple regions, and they have multiple carriers sitting under their telephony, which gives us as an end customer or our customers' customers the ability to sort of have an always-on solution with the resilience that kind of AWS is famous for. If we can jump to the next slide. So how does it actually work? So essentially what we've begun to do is build the contact center into the Zendesk workspace. And over time, what you'll see is those call controls will become more and more native. So as it exists today, you download the app from Marketplace and it automatically installs the contact center workspace. Where we see this going throughout the course of this year and next year is those call controls will blend natively into the experience. So for those of you who are familiar with the Talk product, We see very much the Zendesk for Contact Center and the Zendesk Talk Now voice product will look and feel and behave very similarly in the UI, with the ability to kind of start and end call recordings, the ability to transfer, the ability to see who's online. I think one of the core differences with Zendesk for Contact Center is we can actually pass through the context from the IVR straight to the agent. So if Nuri is like a platinum member, going to Carlos's example of the airline, he is actually a platinum Delta. He will only fly with Delta. I saw this in Vegas last week, where he'll reroute just to go with a certain airline. It's really important that when Nuri calls, that context is passed through to the agent, because the agent needs to be able to personalize the experience and understand not only that he's a platinum, perhaps also having a look to see that there was a misconnection, to understand that he's sent an email and there was sort of an issue. And essentially all of the points of information or context that are needed for the agent as the call presents are provided within that call panel. In the back end, what's actually happening is that's connecting to Amazon Connect. And so that call, whether it was through a toll-free or PSTN, is being routed natively through the IVR and into the agent workspace. Our customers are also able to take use of the 2300 AWS microservices to do things like personalize, transcribe, to do sentiment analysis in real time, or even more importantly, do data dips along that IVR journey into multiple different systems. So we can get really granular in terms of the experience and customize the experience based on the specific individual. So Nuri as a platinum should always go to our most highly skilled English-speaking agents, whereas Jonathan, maybe as a gold member, should go to a different subset of agents based on the certain criteria. So that ability to do proficiency-based routing or skills-based routing is now baked into the solution that we offer here at Zendesk. If we can jump into the next slide. So essentially what we're showing you here is there's two halves to the solution. The top half is kind of the Zendesk hosted suite, which is the product that you know and love and use. And essentially that's connected to the client's AWS account. And so the bottom half is actually an AWS instance that is hosted by our client and lives within our client's own AWS environment. The call costs and the telephony hit the customer's AWS account. The Zendesk for Contact Center is a SKU that is sold as an add-on to Suite today, which can be purchased through your AE, and it's a retail price of $50 USD. The bottom half, which is the AWS Cloud, is a pay-per-use, so it's a consumption-based, so you can scale up and scale down basically with the seasonality of your business. It's not agent license-based, it's simply based on the minutes consumed. And you can see a bunch of various service on the bottom left. So just to call a few out, Lex and Polly, as an example, are some of the AI services that can be embedded within the IVR. So, I mean, you've all probably had an experience where you've called a brand, you know, it's press 1 for sales, press 2 for service. You go round and round and then you're hung up on and you have to pick up the phone and call back. I mean, those are the days of the past. We want neural sounding voices to understand the intent of the customer, the reason why they're calling, and use those specific intent that we can glean from the IVR to make real-time sub-millisecond routing decisions. So we can get really, really granular. On the right-hand side, you can see that data, the call recordings, the sentiment analysis. We can redact PII, can all be stored within the client's AWS environment and very easily streamed into third-party solutions. So think of various analytics tools, think of dashboards. If you want to stream that information into Tableau, a lot of those connectors exist. So you can connect your AWS environment into your BI tools that you use to operate the business. So in summary, the top half is Zendesk and the bottom half is the AWS environment, which hosts the cloud telephony solution. If we can jump to the next slide. And ultimately what that means is you can deliver resolutions with confidence. What's really interesting is obviously at Relate this year, the resolution platform was unveiled. Prior to Zendesk as local measure, we really obsessed around kind of resolution and resolving issues on the first call. We've had a number of customers that have told us that our platform has improved first call resolution. In fact, I was on stage in Las Vegas with TELUS, which is the large Canadian telco carrier, who said their first touch resolution was improved by about 10%. since they onboarded onto the Zendesk for Contact Center platform. The other cool stat that they said actually on stage, which I know this is being recorded, so I hope it's okay that I share, but they did say it publicly, was their post-call work went down by about 50%. So post-call meaning after the call hangs up, typically most agents will type up agent notes. They'll have to fill out the case notes. In that case, it was a medical use case. They shrunk what was almost 30 minutes of post-call work down to 15. And that was using some of the AI services that Nuri's going to show you. So transcribing the voice in real time, extracting some of the entities from that transcription, populating the case notes. The other stat that I'm really proud of, going back to the Zendesk simplicity and the ethos about making it really easy to onboard, we've had customers tell us that our platform is about 75% quicker and cheaper to onboard agents than legacy contact center solutions. So quicker to onboard, obviously faster to drive resolutions, and then faster to drive agent productivity post-call. So we're obviously really excited to have this kind of delivered out to the Zendesk community. So we can jump to the next slide. And then finally, I think one of the really powerful pieces that we get now as being part of the Zendesk family is that all of that data feeds to the single ticket and the single view of customer. So if you're following up on a customer, you've got the transcript, you've got the sentiment across each of the utterances, you've got the summary of what happened in the IVR, you've got the certain intents that you've been able to extract from that customer conversation. And I think the most powerful part of this solution is within the call controls, and Nuri's going to show you this, as the customer is talking, in real time, we can update the workspace. So it's a contextual workspace based on what the customer is saying. So if the sentiment dips, if a payment on Stripe is transacted in real time, all of those cues can come into the top right of the screen as visual indicators for the agent, so they understand that something's happened. So I think that is very much the direction we are going to take with Zendesk for Contact Center, using the voice, using what's happening on the call to update the workspace in real time, to allow the agent to serve the customer rather than actually using a pen and paper. And I'm going to digress for a moment because Nuri and I walked through one of our largest customers' call centers in Manila. And one of the things that shocked us was that agents were using not only a pen and paper, so forgetting the compliance for HIPAA or PCI, they had about 23 different tabs open. And they were constantly going through different tabs. So not only can you imagine the lost productivity, but just the cognitive load on a human being trying to think about an application in 23 different tabs is virtually impossible. So I think the other thing that we're trying to do with Zendesk for Contact Center, and I'm sure this won't get approved by Carlos and product marketing, is we want to be the tab killer. We want all of those 23 tabs to disappear, and we want them to kind of live and breathe within the Zendesk workspace. So the agent only has to deal with the Zendesk workspace and have all of the context and all of the applications they need come to them rather than them having to go to all of the other tabs. So that human middleware or that kind of swivel chair, I think, has to be a thing of the past. Megan, just if we could jump to the next slide, please. So I think one of the questions we had, and I'm going to preempt the question, is Zendesk now essentially has two flagship voice products. And some of the things we've been asked is sort of where do the two product fit? When should a customer use one versus the other? When should a partner? And I've seen some of our partners on this call, and welcome and thank you to our partners for joining. A shout out to Interclouds. When should they position the Zendesk for Contact Center solution versus Zendesk Voice? So Zendesk Voice continues to be part of the Zendesk suite. As Carlos said, a really powerful SMB offering. We see it for low complexity support and service use cases. As a guide, probably under 50 seats, probably for early stage contact centers that just need a phone number and kind of basic inbound and outbound telephony requirements. Zendesk is going all in on Zendesk for Contact Center as the commercial and enterprise and the scalable contact center solution for voice. Essentially, from 50 seats and up or more complex use cases, and not only for inbound, but also for high volume outbound and campaigns, which is something that we can now offer. in addition to more complex IVR. So if you're thinking about real-time decisioning, multiple branches, you're thinking agentic AI, self-serve in the IVR, you need to be thinking Zendesk for contact center. And ultimately, the resilience, the scalability, and the telephony is powered by our friends at AWS. So, I mean, I think if you want to think about it as sort of the SMB offering as voice, and the mid-market up to enterprise for more mature kind of contact centers is now Zendesk for contact center. We have a number of assets now and self-serve learning paths that you can go through and actually touch and feel and see the differences. And the former local measure, the artist formerly known as local measure, now make up a center of excellence within Zendesk around contact center. And so we have both sales reps and solutions architects around the world who are happy to engage to kind of share a little bit more about our solution. If we jump to the next slide. So we might continue here. And so essentially, if you went back to Carlos when he opened talking about the resolution platform, essentially we're thinking about that as a platform with specific and kind of discrete stages in the journey from self-serve all the way through to kind of QA after the fact. And so what you can see on this screen is essentially all of this parts of the suite which support our customers and agents to kind of better resolve customer issues, whether it's email, messaging, phone, all the way through to dashboards and reporting. I'm going to jump to the next slide now to specifically talk about contact center and kind of what's new from Zendesk for contact center. So this is the delta again, moving from Zendesk Voice into Zendesk Contact Center. I think one of the key pieces that we're hearing from customers they're really excited about is that ability to do a data dip. So the ability to use a service at AWS called Lambda, which is a serverless technology that allows you to do API calls in real time to pull in real-time information at the point that it's needed. So that could be within the IVR to look up the status of an order, to see where FedEx parcel is up to from an API, to update a third-party system, or that can be while the customer is on the call. So perhaps if the customer uses a word that could trigger a regulatory review, perhaps if the customer sentiment suddenly turns negative, you have the ability now to trigger off an action, to look up a third-party service, to update a system, to alert a supervisor, or come back and actually give the information to the agent in real time based on what's happening during the call. And so I think that leads into the second piece, which is that dynamic experience, building a workspace that is contextual, that helps the agent do their work, that suggests the knowledge article, that fills out the form, that automatically summarizes the conversation, that brings the context of that rich and like verbal conversation with the customer straight to the agent and puts it in their fingertips. So going back to the example of 23 different tabs to go and search for information, I think the dynamic experience is the absolute opposite. It's bringing the information from those tabs to the agent to be able to make better decisions. One of the cool pieces of Amazon Connect that we're bringing natively into Zendesk is speech and AI analytics. So we're using a service called Contact Lens, which is transcribing the call in real time, that Nuri is going to show you very shortly, that has sentiment, that has transcription in multiple languages, where you can run alerts off the back of that. You can even actually see if an agent has spoken over a customer or the customer has spoken over an agent. So it gets that granular. I'm conscious of time, and as an Australian, I could probably keep talking all day. So I'm just going to hit the key points of some of the things you might be interested in. WebRTC, the ability to do in-app calling, so that rather than having the customer tell you who they are, they've got their phone, they're doing Face ID, they log into the app, and it can trigger a call, either inbound or outbound. Auto dialer or outbound campaigns. So thinking about sales use cases, high volume, programmatic, outbound calls to customers, appointment reminders, sales calls, and all of that campaign management is all built into the solution. DID, telephony, toll-free telephony, the ability to auto answer for an agent, all of that is built within the workspace that I spoke about. So we can jump to the next slide. You can tell I'm really passionate about telephony, guys. So even without coffee, I could talk about this stuff for hours. I think some of the other pieces that customers have told us that relate they're really excited by is automatically dispositioning. So in a typical voice contact center, agents are asked to do dispositioning or adding tags to their calls. So what normally happens when agents are busy, they go to the list and they pick the top one on the list. And as Nuri says, kind of garbage in, garbage out. We're going to show you our solution, which is AI-based tagging, which makes the reporting really interesting. And it shows you what are the core call drivers. So we sort of say the best call that happens on our platform is one that never even happened. And so I think unless you understand the drivers of the call, it's really hard to fix your core underlying issue or fix the business process that's broken that's driving the call. So we'll be able to show you how we use AI to do that tagging. Some of the entity extraction, which I talked about, is it feels and looks like magic, automatically filling out the case in Zendesk so that the agent doesn't have to do it by hand. The ability to pause and resume recording, the ability to do screen recording, the ability to have dashboarding, real-time transcripts. And one of the cool things that I love is some of the real-time alerting you can do based on the utterance or based on the sentiment, either in real time, as I said, to have a supervisor come in and barge on the call, or to send that to a quality team. And so we've already got integration of this platform into Klaus, into the Zendesk QA tool, so that you can start to optimize and educate agents based on what's actually happening on the ground in your contact centers. So I think the final point before I hand over to Nuri is Zendesk for Contact Center is a first party and a first class citizen in the Zendesk stack. So what that means is throughout the course of this year and next year, you're going to see this platform integrate with the rest of the Zendesk suite, with Copilot, with QA, with Explore, with the specific case. And so essentially what you'll get is a voice channel that has woven itself throughout the whole Zendesk suite that looks and feels native and allows Zendesk to not only be your CCaaS, be your customer experience management tool, to be your QA tool, to be your reporting tool, essentially to own the full life cycle of the customer in a single pane of glass. And that is sort of the vision that we're really excited about. Not 15 different clunky systems that you have to kind of own and operate, having that all in one place in a really easy to use way. So I think I stuck to time. Hopefully everyone understood me. Thank you very much for joining the session. We are excited. We already have Zendesk for Contact Center customers live around the world. We're week 3 in Zendesk, and the feedback has been overwhelming. So we couldn't be more excited to join the community. Nuri, over to you to wow the team. I hope you're using an example of an airline where you are the platinum frequent flyer.
Thanks, Jonathan. No, I don't have a Delta specific example this morning, but I've chosen a different one that's around an IT help desk, which I think everybody, regardless of what vertical they're in, if they're in retail and consumer goods, or if they're in travel and hospitality, everyone's going to have an IT help desk inside. So we've got an IT help desk based demo today, and it's about one of my favorite pieces of IT equipment, which is the printer. So we'll kind of go through what that looks like. I have one in my office and I hate it. This person also hates their printer. So what I'm going to start with is a customer calling about their ticket, but they also have some other questions. So the voice journey you're going to see today is going to be a little kind of circuitous. And it kind of will focus on the ability to do data lookups, to personalize an experience, to find an open ticket that a customer already has, and how we kind of tie all that together and answer a customer question and get them to an agent and pass on context. All those exciting things that Jonathan mentioned that really bring it to life. So I will start sharing my screen, and I'm going to share a screen that's probably familiar to a lot of you. This is my Zendesk environment. And at this point, I've got our voice controls over here. So Zendesk for Contact Center. As Jonathan mentioned, you're going to see a lot of action around this over the next couple of months, toward the end of the year, as we start to kind of, put that into places that are the right place and feel inside the Zendesk agent experience, right? We want to offer the most complete agent experience available, kind of regardless of what your agents are doing. So we've got that there. You've seen that I'm currently in available. So my Zendesk status also is available. If I put myself into away, very quickly, you'll see my status go to away. And then if I put myself back into online, my telephony status is also going to go available as well. So that's just kind of highlighting how we're doing some status syncing back and forth with the rest of the other channels that your agents may be taking. If I hand them a phone call, I promise you they're not going to handle a chat very well at the same time, because those are both really, really kind of deep methods of communication. But I may want to hand them an email right? So we've got the ability to kind of match those statuses back and forth. I'll put the call into the environment now, and I'll show you and talk about some of those things after, just to kind of double click on what I've done. So place this call and put it on speakerphone.
Help desk. To get started, please say or enter your Zenco employee number.
213976.
For additional security, we've just sent a text message containing a one-time PIN to the mobile number in your Workday profile. What's that code? If you haven't received it yet.
4484.
Hey Frank, welcome back. Thanks for authenticating successfully. I've checked for open tickets and I see you have an open ticket titled, I hate my printer. Is this why you're calling?
No, I'm traveling next week to the San Francisco office and I need a badge access. How do I submit an access control request for another office?
Okay, question about accessing other offices. Your badge will grant you access to only your assigned office, which in your case is the Detroit Grand River office. If you'd like to access another office, please submit a ticket. You can find that on the internet by searching office access requests. You can also just type go/office access in your browser. All access requests will be responded to within 24 hours. Is there anything else we can help with?
Yeah, I actually want to escalate that ticket I have about my damn printer.
Happy to help. Let me grab one of our friendly help desk agents for further assistance. One moment. And we'll be
All right, at this point, we have joined a ticket in progress. Now I'm going to walk through really quickly what happened in that call. So person called in and they provided their employee number. Now we looked that up in an external system in this demo environment. It's going to be Workday. So it's able to match the employee's phone number, or not the phone number, but their employee ID to a record. And then I sent a one-time PIN text message to the mobile number that's on file. So we're able to pull all that stuff out of the database and use that to kind of pull those things together to personalize the person's experience. Now, once they actually got through their one-time PIN, said, hey, Frank, welcome back. I see you have an open ticket. So we were able to actually query Zendesk by that user, find that they had a ticket that's currently in open status, and read them back the title of their ticket. So that just kind of shows how we further personalize, not just with external systems, but also with Zendesk to build out a better kind of voice user experience up front. Now, the caller said, no, I am not interested in that. I'm going to ask a question that you would know from your knowledge base. So we were able to take what the customer said, run that through the knowledge base, and come up with an answer based on what they were looking to do. And it also personalized it, saying that, hey, we know you're at this office, but here's how you can go fix that problem. Now, at the very end of that, we said, hey, is there anything else we can help with? And the person said, I want to escalate my ticket. So as you see here on my screen, voice intent has been filled out as ticket escalation. So anything we pick up from an IVR as we're kind of putting customers through automation or trying to resolve their problems in a voice AI, we can push those things onto the ticket. Maybe that's a summary of the conversation that the person had with the AI, or maybe that's things like Jonathan's coffee preferences or my loyalty status. Anything we're able to derive about the customer based on a lookup, we're happy to push that into a ticket. And the more data you have in your ticket, the better your data and reporting is going to be. I'm absolutely happy with this. Now, this is a ticket that is already open. And as you can see, I'll just close this for a second. Frank sent in a message to the help desk saying he's having problems with his printer. I love the movie Office Space. It reminds me of sometimes the dystopian hellscape, which it can be in a very, very large company that has so many processes. So this help desk says, we'll happily get to your email. We've assigned a priority of low and we'll be the best we can do to fix it in 2 weeks. Now, this person obviously is having much more problems and has to have some reports printed. So the person called. Now, at this point, we've joined all that data together, right? We've got the email that already exists and we've got the phone call. Now, these are not two separate tickets. These are one ticket that shows kind of all those customer touches. So when we go back to thinking about the data that you're generating from your Zendesk users, like all this is in one place, the customer's entire interaction. And this can be multiple channels. This can kind of be all those little customer customer touch points put into one place. So I'll kind of pick up at this place and start having a conversation. You'll kind of see what happens in that conversation. Now, of course, I can pass additional data like authentication status or the customer's manager or anything I want to. I can kind of put in this box right here. So I'm going to turn my speakers down on both devices, and I'm going to start having a conversation with myself. Jonathan, please do not suggest I talk to our Employee Resource Center about the fact that I talk to myself on demos. So here goes that. You're not muted there. And I will unmute here. Hi, Frank. Thanks for calling the IT Help Desk. You're speaking to Daniel. It looks like you're having more problems with that printer. Yes, I absolutely hate this printer. This is the third or fourth time I'm doing it, and there's all kinds of work I need to do. I have to do a bunch of printing, and at this point, I have to have something taken care of. Can you maybe dispatch a technician or something to me to get this taken care of today? Yes, I see you're in the Detroit office. Our closest IT support is out of Columbus, Ohio, so it's going to be a couple of hours. Let me check their availability real quick. I would really appreciate it. Okay, it looks like we can have a technician there by about 4 p.m. Will you still be in the office? Yeah, I can still be there at 4 p.m. Great, I will put this ticket in our technician's queue, and they will see you around 4 p.m. Thank you so much for your help today. I very much appreciate your service. Have a great rest of your day. Yep, thanks. We'll get this hardware problem taken care of for you. Have a great day. All right, so I just talked to myself successfully.
Nuri, we're going to have a conversation with HR about these kind of conversations you're having with yourself, buddy.
It's a really weird thing to demo. That's why I usually don't do a lot of demos live, because it's a lot. So we go back, and what y'all saw at that point was we were generating a transcript in real time. Now, I love the fact that we have a transcript in real time because there are things we can do with it. First of all, the agent can always go back and refer to anything that they may have missed if they were playing solitaire instead of helping customers. If you look to the accuracy of this transcription is really great. Now, this comes out in many different languages. There are probably lots of questions about specific languages. I think they're up to maybe 50 or 60 at this point where they're doing kind of this transcript with. If there's anything specific, please work with your AEs to get help from our COE, and we're more than happy to answer those questions. But most kind of mainstream languages work really well in this. Now, other things we can do with it, and I don't have a specific demo here for it, but agents fill out a lot of forms in their day job. And this one's not relevant to this specific demo environment. But I've got this purple button here that says populate fields. Now, agents spend a lot of time taking notes, sending things in specific forms, etc. When I click this populate fields button, GenAI is going to go at the transcript in real time and extract the things needed to actually fill out the form, which is a huge time savings. It looks like magic when we do it. It's not going to find anything when I do it here because this is the wrong use case. But, maybe you want to bring in other things like delivery tracking, or maybe you want to send an outbound SMS message to a customer. Like, we just bring these tools to the agent to kind of fill out what they need to do. And even more interesting is we can change those utilities based on the type of call the agent is on. So maybe you have a tech support group that has a certain set of utilities and a sales group that has a completely different one. I can change these based on the call they're taking. Or if you are even at a BPO and have dozens of customers, we can give you that level of personalization at your agent level, which is really, really neat. So I'm going to go and wrap up the conversation. Agents spend a lot of time writing notes. So we've brought GenAI, of course, to that as well, to the contact center. This is powered by us and what we've done. And we also have the ability to give agents different formats of those notes. Like maybe you're in a specific type of call where you want every note kind of written out in the same way. Maybe what was the caller's problem? What did the agent do? What was the device number? Well, we actually give you the ability to customize your GenAI outputs without requiring a single line of code. So as a contact center agent, I understood the customer, Frank, was having ongoing issues with the printer and needed a technician to be dispatched to resolve the problem. I checked the availability of the closest IT support and was able to get him to Detroit by 4 p.m. on the same day. So that is an extremely accurate GenAI summary. Now that goes right off to the ticket. So
Nuri, I think it's worth kind of pausing there for a moment. When we sort of first started it, I mentioned TELUS was spending up to 30 minutes on after call work. That was writing the detailed notes, writing out the patient notes, doing all of that by hand. Nuri just showed you within 1 to 2 seconds that work can be fully automated using kind of Zendesk AI. So for me, that's an incredible like opportunity to take costs out of a contact center.
It sure is, especially in like those regulated things where, you may want to know, is the patient experiencing a crisis right now? What did the counselor tell folks? What was the advice and what resource did you point them to? And we actually had them validated through their clinical team, and they were really happy with the outputs. So just massive time savings. Now, another thing a lot of call centers do is resolution codes or dispositions. Some contact centers use them. Some people have stopped because they find their agents usually grab the easiest one to find. So data usually indexes on what's closest to the agent's cursor, because a lot of folks have dozens of them. So we've actually automatically put some disposition codes on this call. It was a tech support call due to an unrelated hardware issue, and the agent resolved it. So AI has basically tagged that call based on your business logic and your resolution codes. And we actually show some pretty cool reporting around that as well. So I'm just going to save and close that contact, and I'm done. Notice that the summary has automatically been attached to the ticket as an internal note. As from a tags perspective, we have had a couple of additional ones put in here as well. So once that processing is done, disposition, hardware issue unresolved, and tech support, those are the ones that we automated from our Gen AI outputs. And then as soon as the recording is done processing and the transcript, all those are going to be in this ticket as well. So once again, it's back to that. We're taking everything that is related to this customer's problem and everything we've done to resolve it, regardless of the challenge, and have attached it to the same place, which I think is just so incredibly powerful. And there was nothing, no additional work your agents had to do. It really simplifies their life, giving them a single pane of glass to resolve your customers' problems. And that's what we're all here for. So that's it from an agent experience perspective. We're now in a way, I'm now in unavailable, so my status is back to normal. So I'll stop there from the agent perspective and now click into a little bit of the reporting and the setup. So this is just one of our setup screens, and we have the ability to control some of the behavior of how things are talking back and forth between Zendesk and the behavior that you're expecting out of the contact center. Whether or not we're doing the links of a redacted or an unredacted call, because of course we support redaction, because of course most of y'all probably deal with some type of 3 or 4 letter acronym for compliance. So we can attach a redacted or unredacted call recording and transcript. If we go over, we're actually mapping agent status from Amazon Connect back to the Zendesk status. So if your agent is doing X piece of work, what should that look like from a Zendesk perspective? And of course, we support agent focus mode. One thing that I love as an administrator is the ability to automatically map attributes from the call flows back to Zendesk ticket fields. So for instance, if I set something in my call flow that's called AGT_intent, I want to map that to the ticket field of voice intent. So that requires 0 code. No one's writing a single piece to make sure that we're mapping tickets or attributes that we pull out of the contact center directly into the Zendesk ticket. So I think your administrators who don't code would probably love that. And then of course, brands and queue mapping, those are great. We don't have that in our demo environment, but of course we realize that many of you probably have at least one or multiple brands in your contact center. We want to make sure that we're able to provide support for that as well. So from a setup perspective, these are some of the things that you would do as we turned on Zendesk for Contact Center. Now, also exciting news, we're launching very soon a companion app for reporting. We know how reporting important it is in the contact center. And as Jonathan said earlier, a lot of this data is going to be out to explore. I saw a message earlier about, can that go out to the Amazon Connect data lake? The answer is absolutely yes. Or you can take that data and put it into Power BI or Tableau or wherever you're putting your data. All this data comes out very easy from the platform. And since the infrastructure we're using here is AWS, you can guess that there's a lot of data that the platform generates. I joke with people that I can tell when an agent coughs. Probably not actually that good, but a lot of data administrators have actually told me, can you send me less data? Because everything from this platform is coming out. So it's really good to enrich. I think that call centers are probably the most important bit of customer data you have, because your customers are telling you exactly what products they like and don't like, what's wrong with things, and how their experience is going as a customer. So we want to make it really easy to capitalize on that kind of that data. Now, this is what's going to happen inside the companion app, and then I'll dip into Amazon Connect and show you some of the infrastructure as well. For instance, this is just kind of a real-time dashboard of what's going on in the call center. I see the queues that I'm in, so we can either allow agents to see the queues they're in, or see everything in the contact center, or not see anything at all. So if you want your agents to know that there are 100 people holding for your tech support queue, we can grant them that access and they'd have this visibility. Now, moving over to recent performance, we do a little bit of trend, kind of comparison to what's going on now to what's going on over a certain amount of time. So I'm looking in the last hour. I'll take that back to 6 hours, and this is not a super busy demo environment, but I can see that I've queued 2 calls, handled 2, and then I can see some near real-time performance. Like I know my occupancy in this queue is currently 57%. What's my average handle time? So giving you those kind of call center metrics that you need to know at a glance to measure your business. Now, when we start thinking of analytics and getting some meaningful insights as to what's going on in your contact center, all those disposition codes that agents are tagging using AI, well, we break those down and say, here are the most prevalent reasons why people are contacting your contact center. So I know that my order status is one of those top 10, and order status calls are up 20% in the last 30 days. But also my order damages are up by 100%. So something is going on. Maybe I should look into what's going on shipping, or something going on in my warehouse, or even from a supplier perspective. So I love that data at a glance. But then I can go down and see, what are each of these tasks taking? So on a call where we are submitting an application for a loan, the average handle time is 33 minutes. So does that mean the agents are taking that long because it takes that long, or are they spending a long time in wrap up? Well, we actually can tell you that as well. The average interaction time is a lot shorter than the total average handle time, which includes wrap up. So maybe there's a process we can fix, or maybe there's something we can automate through an AI bot, or maybe the agent's process itself is difficult, right? We get a lot of really interesting statistics, and then we start multiplying those by the amount of calls we've taken. We have a really good roadmap for value and providing some little bit of technical spend or re-architecture of a process, right? So it really paints a roadmap for architecture. And then if I move over to contact performance, we kind of see peaks and troughs as they've happened throughout the day, average handle time, call arrival, when does after call work go longer? We know that it always happens after lunch. People get a little bit slower at talking. So we can actually see those trends, and then how my 30 days compares to the previous 30 days, or if I'm looking at the previous day. Obviously there's a lot less data, but I see that I'm getting more calls than I did yesterday. So it's really interesting insights that we're bringing kind of right naturally out of our app. How am I doing on time? Do I have a few more minutes?
Go for
Yeah,
it.
definitely. You've got a few more minutes and we'll do Q&A.
All right, awesome. So I've just plopped back into the infrastructure layer. As Jonathan talked about, our partnership with AWS is extremely meaningful. We've partnered with them because there's probably no more reliable, scalable, flexible contact center that exists in the world. And it's one of our favorites. So I'll show you just a little bit about how these things are built. If I wanted to claim a phone number, it's literally as easy as dropping into claim phone numbers, clicking a button, claim a number, and I can grab from a pool of numbers that are already there. So as you can see, there are a lot of countries in this list. I'll grab United States, and it's going to give me phone numbers that I can claim. So that's great. I can claim a phone number and attach it to a business flow. And then basically within seconds, I'm calling that number and it's ringing in the right place on my call center. Of course, if you have already published phone numbers, we can port those numbers to Amazon Connect. There's a process to do that. Of course, you have to sign some paper saying that you're okay to do so, but we can bring your phone numbers over into Amazon Connect as well. And then literally we point exactly where we want that to go. So I'm going to say I want this to go to this call flow. That was when I presented to Chris Donato, one of our sales leaders. And so that phone number is now mapped to that call flow, and we're off. Same thing with building agents. If I want to build agents, I've got user management here. There's a couple ways we can do this. We can integrate this to something like Workday, where there's a workflow that automatically provisions agents. We can do it by API or by a spreadsheet, or you can even manually dial it. And then Jonathan mentioned earlier about the whole proficiency bit. So we can actually assign proficiencies to an agent as well. So basically on this brand, they're proficient at a 5, but they're really not good at sales. but they're amazing at tech support and they support the Americas region. So we're looking at better ways to kind of segment our inbound customer calls to agents and target the best agent, not just the most available agent in your business. So I love proficiency routing inside Amazon Connect. Very easy. When it comes to building flows itself, I'll show you kind of the drag and drop editor on how to build a flow. I'll put a name here as community demo. And then I have these blocks. Things like if I want to play a message for a customer, just drop over play prompt, plop in here. I either use a WAV file that I've already recorded from Voice Talent and upload it, or I can do dynamic text to speech. So, hi community, thanks for calling into my demo. And if I want to maybe get something from a customer and say I want to collect their intent, I can do that just as easy. I can use either Amazon Lex, where we use a Lex bot to basically kind of understand what the customer is calling about and classify their intents. Or I can do something as easy as press 1, press 2, press 3, etc. And it literally drops out new options into the block. And so then I'm wiring these blocks up to various queues or API lookups to a backend system. I train most business folks how to build these kind of flows in just a couple of hours. And if you've used the Zendesk Talk product, you can see that this is a even more enhanced and robust and configurable way to build very specific contact flows and outcomes for your customers. So all that's done here. We want to pop into reporting real quick. There's a really interesting bit of Connect that I love because I've been in call centers my entire life, and as the IT person, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, Nuri, I've got a report from a customer that someone swore at them yesterday, but they don't remember the agent's name." And that's a pretty impossible task, right? You can take the customer's phone number and maybe the time they dialed. Of course, you can search for all those, but if I want to find all calls where the agent mentioned the word Zendesk office coffee in San Francisco, we will literally go find all those calls where that happened, which I think is really, really interesting. Or if I want to find calls where the sentiment changed in the call, because it's great if the sentiment score is overall very good, but maybe I want to find calls where the customer started off very happy. So the customer started at maybe a 4, and then by the time they were off the phone, they were a -5. So they were happy when they started with your agent, but they were very unhappy when it ended. So I think that's a really interesting way to start searching through calls in the platform to identify those that you really should take some extra time on. And then I'll pull up the one we did live just a few minutes ago. Trend is fairly neutral for the most of the call, but it peaks up a little bit because the customer is happy that they were getting their problem solved. We see who was doing most of the talking. Hint, it was me the entire time. The overall sentiment of the customer and agent. And then you actually have the call recording itself. We also have the bits that happened in the IVR, so we can hear what happened in the IVR, and then actually the customer conversation, the transcript, issue detection. Like, this is all just really good stuff, folks, and I could go for hours, but I know Carlos is...
Nuri, we've got some questions, I think, that have come through. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that end-to-end journey from what was sort of a relatively simple voice conversation that was kind of transcribed. You can see it now natively in the ticket. You can see the call recording has dropped in, the sentiments dropped in, the case has been filled out. What a magical experience, and thinking about blending that voice experience with all the digital channels. And you can see Frank's email into a Zendesk case, like all sitting in one spot. Megan, do we have any questions that you'd like us to answer?
Yeah, definitely. And Nuri, like, amazing demo. I've been on a lot of these, and that was the most fun demo that I've ever watched. So really great work. I also want to give a major shout out to Lovekesh, who has been just rocking the Q&A. So working in the background, you deserve some love too. So thank you for all your hard work getting answers to everyone's questions. We're going to now transition to everyone's favorite part, another favorite part, which is the live Q&A. So I'll bring up my slides, but just a friendly reminder, especially if you're newer to these events, this section is actually, they're questions that you you all submitted when you registered for this event. And unfortunately, we aren't able to answer all of them. We do answer them and send them out as a post-event follow-up, but we did grab a few that we wanted our experts on the call to answer. And so that's what we'll do for the next, excuse me, 15 minutes. So we'll start with you, Jonathan. This is a great question from Brian asking, what is Amazon Connect? I know you went into this at the beginning, but maybe you want to add just like a quick response.
Yeah, absolutely. I can handle that. And look, there was another good question that came in the live Q&A. I think we probably skipped over it. We should have started with that. Every single thing we've shown you today are capabilities that are GA that are available for sale for Zendesk today. So this isn't something that we're releasing later in the year. This was announced at Relate. And all of the technology is real, live, and ready to go for customers. So I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. We skipped over it because we were so excited. But this is already live with Zendesk customers around the world today. So we're excited to obviously show it to you. Amazon Connect is one of the fastest growing AWS services. The service was actually born out of the Amazon.com business. As Amazon.com, their retail business grew, their contact centers, which were largely on-premise solutions, kind of ran out of capacity and they weren't able to scale to the, I think, 100 or 1,000 odd agents that they have around the world. So they ended up building a service internally. At the time, it was a code name project called Lily. And that product was essentially an internal telephony solution to manage the Amazon.com contact center. Ultimately, they had so much demand from AWS customers to open that up. They essentially productized that solution about 7 or 8 years ago. And largely, many of the founding team of that service, a gentleman by the name of Pasquale Di Maio, continue to run that solution and have continued to grow it over 7 or 8 years. It was one of the fastest growing primitives or core services within AWS. And essentially, some of those AI, telephony, toll-free, DID, and kind of routing capabilities that Nuri showed you today, which are sort of seamlessly woven and integrated into Zendesk, come from Amazon Connect. So as it stands today, our customers have an AWS account, and all of the telephony that they incur from the solution that we just showed you hits the AWS account. Much like today, if you were paying Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T for telephony, in a world where you're using Zendesk for contact center, you're actually paying those fees to AWS, who also act as your telco. So resilient, global, scalable telephony, and available in all of the countries I actually shared in the Q&A, so you can actually have a look to see where they've got available telco. Let's jump to the next question. What are the differences? Cool. Well, hopefully now you've seen the level of sophistication for Zendesk for contact center versus voice. So as I said, I think where Zendesk Voice is really powerful at being able to put a credit card in, being able to set up really quickly, to have some basic cues, and to be able to get going with telephony. In terms of the complex use cases around IVR, the sophistication around routing, proficiency and skill-based routing, IVR, self-service in the IVR, global availability of telco, those kinds of things need the Zendesk for contact center solution, which is underpinned with AWS. So going back to that original slide that I shared earlier, it's not a hard and fast rule, but roughly the way we're thinking about it is less than 50 agents or more SMB focused contact centers. Probably Zendesk Voice, if it's a simple use case, is probably the easiest and the quickest way to get going. For more complicated or larger scale contact centers in the mid-market or up to enterprise, Zendesk for contact center is absolutely the way to go. It gives you the extensibility, it gives you the resilience, and it gives you the telco coverage that kind of enterprise grade contact centers require, but at pay per use costs. So you're not paying the traditional legacy contact center prices. You're paying sort of as you use it.
Perfect. Thanks, Jonathan. And again, for everyone, we'll be sending out the slides as a follow-up to this event, so you'll have all that information as well. All right, so Nuri, we've got one for you. What are some of the use cases that are supported?
Oh, man.
Other than hating your printer.
So many folks have built their contact centers on this infrastructure before, right? And I think about even from our customers who recently deployed. There are a major retailer doing support for their products. We have a large quick service restaurant chain that's currently doing all of their kind of restaurant complaints on it. We've worked with banks before doing telephone banking. Even a government in the Australia, New Zealand, kind of Asia Pacific region is doing kind of reporting of like road problems and tollway issues, right? So your use cases are really anything you're using to support a customer and a customer journey. And this is just one more kind of quiver in the Zendesk arsenal around, we're now providing enterprise class voice and voice automation for contact centers on top of other ways your customers are already contacting you. So basically, like if you have a use case where your customers talk to you on voice, that's where we'd start with that. And then we can figure out kind of how we want that to either go directly to humans, or if we want AI to help out with some of those things, right? It's just a really, really powerful and flexible tool, and it opens up a whole new offering from Zendesk. And that's why we're
In addition, Nuri, to actually customers using our solution directly, we actually have a number of BPOs. So obviously businesses where you outsource agents who use us either for single customers or in a multi-tenant environment where they have a single BPO servicing 50, 60, 70 brands. So we have a lot of inbound and outbound use cases, both directly with customers and with BPOs as well. We'll jump to the next question.
All right.
Another one for Nuri.
Yeah.
Popular today.
This is one of my favorite topics because I have requests ranging from, hey, I want to replace all my agents, which we've seen in the press recently, where it's a hard proposition to replace all your agents, to others saying, hey, I want to make my agents more efficient. So I think we're finally at a time in technology where AI can help either from a front of the house experience, so when customers call in, or as an AI augmenting humans, right? So AI and humans working together to provide better service. So we think in contact centers of a couple levers we can pull. And when we design these things, we always talk about how do we provide the best experience, right? We don't want to deflect anybody. We want to resolve their problem. And I think that's really important, kind of how Zendesk thinks about it. We don't think about it as deflections. We think about resolutions. So I can resolve a person's question that may be just a simple question. It's almost like having your voice AI act as a search engine for your website that you've probably spent a lot of time on building to make sure questions can get answered from your website, or from self-service, right? A customer was calling up to make a payment. Do you need to make a payment with a human? Not necessarily. So things like that. So that's from the front end of things. Now, from the back end of things, if an agent actually gets that call, how do we bring knowledge that they need to answer the call up to their screens faster? How do we take out repetitive processes that they're doing? Things like, as Jonathan mentioned, spending a ton of time writing up notes on what happened or filling out forms like I showed you, right? So, AI can either help customers directly or help your agents. And those levers that we're pulling on is the handle time, right? We're decreasing the handle time that customers take to get their issue resolved while still providing them really good quality service. Because if your service fails, customers are unhappy, right? So I think those are some of the things. And then from an administrative side, if we have administrators getting the transcripts, if we understand the sentiment, they're spending less time looking through reports or trying to find that one call that things happened poorly on, or even from a Zendesk voice QA. At my first call center, we had 10 people listening to our calls all day, and a contact center of 500 people, right? So instead of having just individual calls listened to, now we're looking at the entire happiness of all of your customers in an automated way through Zendesk's voice QA. So lots of places across your enterprise, from customer to administrator, where AI can help folks in a call center.
Nuri, I think just to summarize what you said, because obviously we were out at Contact Center Week in Las Vegas last week, and I think probably the way to frame this is not so much around replacing human labor, but how do you augment humans to kind of make them more powerful and use the humans in your contact center to have like really empathetic, high EQ conversations with customers, and use AI to sort of pick up the undifferentiated heavy lifting, which is, hey, I need my password reset, or I want to track my parcel. And so essentially you reserve your human workforce for the higher order work, and you have AI do exactly all the things you just said, which is agent productivity, undifferentiated heavy lifting, automation, both front of office and back office. So I think the crux of the question is, how can I save cost with AI? And absolutely, I think Zendesk for Contact Center can meet that outcome. I think it's about the framing though, around like which parts of the journey do we automate and where do we use our humans to kind of have the most meaningful work. I mean, human agents don't wake up in the morning wanting to reset a password, right? Some contact centers have as high as 50% attrition. So if we can actually make their jobs more enjoyable, they're likely to stick around, which reduces costs and means, we obviously have better agents and ultimately more happy customers. Next question. Oh, it's for me. How does it work in how does telephony work in different markets? Telephony is a very, very tricky and challenging conversation because it's regulated in so many markets around the world. So one of the cool things about partnering with Amazon Connect is they take on some of that heavy lifting to make sure that the solutions are compliant in each market, and they partner kind of with the local telcos to offer services in those markets. So I actually shared a PDF in the Q&A, which outlines all of the various markets around the world, where there's both inbound and outbound telephony, where there's a CLI, so the number presents to the customer when the call rings, where you can do toll-free, where you can do DID, because I think every single market is just so different. Even things like high volume outbound calls in different markets are regulated. So in the US here, there's a specific regulated connection time. So when the call goes out, there's a time between it actually landing and a human agent being connected to the customer, and that's actually regulated. So each market in summary is different. There's really strong coverage with AWS, and I'd advise you to take a look at the telephony coverage guide to just make sure you understand sort of what are the limitations and kind of where there's full telco coverage. We've probably got time for one or two more. Nuri, how complicated?
So there's a great story that AWS had. It's a very large bank out of Australia called National Australia Bank, and they had a use case where they built telephone banking. So that's from, I want to transfer money between accounts. I want the balance of my checking account. So that's an example of something that's very, very complicated. And something like that also gives an amazing amount of automation where you're able to automate 85% of your calls. Something that we're working with now that's really interesting is around kind of the multimodal experience as well. This is something that I demoed for a retail customer out of the UK where someone's calling to return a package, but they may have multiple things. And so I text them an SMS, they log in, and now we've tied those sessions together. So this is kind of almost providing a visual IVR. Lovecash built one for an airline out of Latin America where a customer has had their flight canceled, and the person calls up. What's the first thing they're probably going to ask about? My flight's been canceled. And so we're able to walk them through using their phone while also on speakerphone. The IVR walks them through doing things in a mobile app. So it's really, really, the world is your oyster with here. You can automate the use cases that make sense, as Jonathan was mentioning. Things like password resets, talking to backend systems to fulfill a request, or to look up a customer, or to handle authentication. You saw in my use case that we sent a one-time PIN to a customer to actually authenticate them. So really, how complicated can the IVR be is how complicated do you want it to be?
But also, how do we make sure it's manageable, it's simple to operate and to continue to run? And obviously, the more complicated, the more ongoing heavy lifting. So we always advocate for simplicity, but I think the extensibility, which is the crux of the question, is really significant. I think on that note, we're just about out of time. Thank you for letting us share a little bit about Zendesk for Contact Center. We'll throw back to Megan.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Great stuff. I do really appreciate it. I'm very impressed too. 75 minutes is a long time to be here, but we have pretty much everyone staying on because it was so good and such great content. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Nuri. Really great job. Lovecash, awesome job working behind the scenes. All of you who called in, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed today's session and learned a lot about Zendesk for Contact Center. I'll wrap up just with a friendly reminder that anything we didn't get to today, we of course will circle back and share the answers to your questions along with the deck and the recording. And we hope to see you at our last Relate Deep Dive series on our platform. And we'll see you then. Bye for now, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.